The average person views the elite as one cohesive cabal that orchestrates together for world domination, but this is a childlike myth. The truth is that there are multiple factions of power brokers that are constantly stabbing one another in the back and jockeying for control over the West. What the average person perceives as left-right partisan politics is only the surface layer of a deeper power struggle. The true fight is between the postmodern neoliberal globalists, consisting of men like Klaus Schwab, George Soros, and the World Economic Forum, versus the Nietzschean techno-monarchists, consisting of men such as Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. Whereas the postmodern neoliberal globalists already control most of the West, the Nietzschean techno-monarchists are a burgeoning power contending their paradigm. So, who really are these two factions? We'll start with the incumbent, the managerial globalists. They already control most of the West. They believe that stability comes from process, norms, credentialed experts, and international coordination. They don't see themselves as tyrannical. They see themselves as custodians, holding together a dangerously irrational civilization. They think that the best way to optimize society is to remove anything that creates friction, and things that create friction are things like religion, nationality, gender, beliefs, even your name. These are all things that make the system have to adapt around you, rather than you sliding seamlessly into the slot that you are assigned to. They don't seek to exploit you, they seek to manage you. So, if you are a completely clean slate, with nothing to identify with, you can be quite easily managed. Next up, Faction 2, the Nietzschean techno-monarchs. These men realize something crucial. The managerial globalists control money, but the techno-monarchs control the world's true currency, information. They realized that if the world operates on their software and their tech stack, then why should they have to answer to anyone at all? This feud only becomes legible once you stop treating it as economics or politics, and begin treating it as a philosophical, psychological schism inside the Western elite mind. At root, this is a war between two incompatible answers to the same question. What do you do when God has died and the masses no longer believe the story? The techno-baron faction answers that question in a recognizably Nietzschean way. Not Nietzsche as he's taught in undergraduate ethics courses, but Nietzsche as a diagnosis of civilizational exhaustion. Their worldview implicitly accepts that meaning is not discovered, but imposed, that morality is not universal, but instrumental, and that hierarchy is not a moral failure, but a biological and informational inevitability. They do not believe in equality in any metaphysical sense. They only believe in power. This is why Nietzsche matters here. The techno-elite have absorbed his most dangerous insight. When shared values collapse, power flows towards those with the will to take it. Builders, not managers. Creators, not caretakers. Their psychology is oriented around agency, dominance, and refusal to apologize. Spiritually, they are not religious, but they are not nihilist either. They believe in something colder and sharper, immanent power through mastery. For them, the sacred is relocated into systems that work. This is why they fetishize engineering, AI, space, and exit strategies. Democracy feels obsolete to them. Democracy assumes a shared mythos, in which they see none, so they choose competence over consent, and acceleration over comfort. Psychologically, this faction tends to attract people with high trait openness, high intelligence, and low agreeableness. They are comfortable being hated. In some cases, they even desire it. They do not want to be loved, they want to win. The managerial globalists take an entirely different posture, whose philosophical roots lie in postmodern humanism. This is the lineage that runs through Foucault and Karl Popper, rather than Nietzsche and pagan warriors of old. Their core belief is not that truth is imposed, but that truth is constructed, negotiated, and therefore can be monopolized. Where the Nietzscheans fear stagnation, the humanists fear domination. I mentioned Foucault not because the World Economic Forum reads him carefully, but because his suspicion of power has soaked into the institutional bloodstream. The globalist elite believes that unchecked power inevitably metastasizes into abuse, so power must be diffused, proceduralized, and atomized. No kings, no heroes, no singular will to powers, only a system, only panels, safeguards, and restraint. Spiritually, this faction is functionally secular. They are not hostile to spirituality outright, but they regard it as potentially destabilizing if allowed into governance. Their substitute for God is process, inclusion, representation, and equality for equality's sake. Suffering is not dignified. It is meant to be minimized and removed entirely. Meaning is not transcendent, but manufactured therapy. Psychologically, this faction attracts high agreeableness, high conscientiousness, and a deep fear of chaos. They are caretakers of a fragile order they believe could collapse into fascism, genocide, or ecological ruin if left unchecked. This is why the two factions cannot reconcile. The techno-Nietzscheans see the managerial class as a decadent priest of a dead god, enforcing moral scripts that no one believes while the machine rots underneath. The globalist humanists see the techno-elite as brilliant but monstrous children playing with a match in a forest. The techno-barons accept the vacuum and try to fill it with will to power, intelligence, and creation. The globalist denies the vacuum and tries to plaster over it with norms, inclusive language, and endless coordination. One believes meaning must be forged. The other believes meaning must be protected from abuse. Neither side understands the sacred. One wants to replace it with power, the other wants to replace it with managerial procedure. And because neither can speak the language of transcendence, the conflict plays out as an endless cold war between two different camps of soulless ghouls. You might ask, Broken Ruune, how does any of this affect me? And to that, I would like to give a surface-level comparison to two media intellectual properties. The first one is THX 1138, a film directed by George Lucas. This would be the future if the managerial globalist won. The film is centered around a protagonist whose name is reduced to a serial number. He is hairless, featureless, and his only clothing is a white unitard. He knows not his name, his ethnicity, his gender, his nation, or even who his parents are. He simply knows an optimized system. He knows where he has to be every day and what he has to do. And so, he follows that system. The next property I would like to point at is more popular, Cyberpunk 2077. This is the future if the techno-monarchs win. The techno-monarchs don't care what you believe, who you are, what you identify as, who you like to fuck, or anything else. They'll let you have your freedom, but they'll charge you $9.99 a month for it. They're not really concerned with how you live your life. At the end of the day, you are nothing more than a commodity. They are not concerned with managing you. They are concerned with deriving value from you. Let's look at two possible 2056s. In the first one, the techno-monarchs win. Their plan is to circumvent the state entirely. When the government stops being able to meet the needs of a society, they will fill the gap. Not before long, corporate towns will begin to pop up. People will find that living in these company towns provides a better quality of life than the state governments, so they will travel to them en masse. This is a trap, though, because then their lives will be sold back to them at a cost. What used to be a constitutional right is now a terms of service. If democracy still exists in this future, then it is only ceremonial and ornamental. The world will have stratified openly, not by race or nationality, but by competence tiers. Cognitive ability, technical literacy, and adaptability will determine your life. Equality as a moral claim is gone. It survives only as nostalgia. The technology would be breathtaking. AI is not simply a product. It is the ambient layer of society. Most code will write itself. Logistics are seamless. Lifespan extension will exist, but it'll be unevenly distributed towards the wealthy. Not because of cruelty, but because the elite won't feel obligated to pretend to care anymore. Scarcity won't be eliminated, it'll simply be reallocated. In this future, law and order will be at the discretion of the military-industrial complex, and justice is whatever the chairman of the board decides that quarter. In this future, you will be free to believe in whatever god you want. You could follow Islam, Christianity, or anything in between. You can identify however you want and date whoever you want. The ruling elite will not care, but what they will care about is that you pay your subscription fee. In this future, humanity itself is monetized. You may have your own discretion within that system, but it'll cost you. So, in that world, you will live in a company town, and your life will be sold back to you for $9.99 a month. But what kind of 2056 is one where the postmodern neoliberal globalists win? Well, as I mentioned earlier in the video, you can forget things like your nationality, your gender, your traditions, or your religious beliefs. All those things create friction, and you can't have friction in a seamless managed system. As you've probably heard, in that world, you will own nothing and you will be happy. You will live in the pod and you will eat the bug. You will have safety and comfort, but little to no agency and decision-making of your own life. You will be one node in an endless network of efficiency. The world will be governed by layered institutions so dense that no single human can see the whole structure. Power is diffuse by design. Every decision will pass through a committee. Nothing is allowed to break suddenly. Technology advances, but cautiously. AI is heavily regulated, sandboxed, and constrained by alignment frameworks designed to prevent harm. Innovation still happens, but it is softened and nerfed. Economically, inequality still exists, but it is rhetorically denied and administratively managed. The system prioritizes stability over excellence. Mediocrity becomes safe. Greatness becomes suspect. Psychologically, this world is anxious and fragile. People are protected from many forms of harm, but they are also avoidant from meaning. Language is carefully monitored. Speech is therapeutic, not truth-seeking. Conflict is moralized and bureaucratized, rather than dealt with honestly. Many people feel safe, but they also feel numb. But for now, let's reel it back into the present day. Currently, the Nietzschean neo-monarchs have co-opted the American right wing. They posed as libertarians, seeking small government and capital freedom. But that was a Trojan horse. Their true goal is neo-feudalism. By now, I don't need to tell you. Everyone knows that J.D. Vance is merely an avatar for these people, and that the goal is that once Trump kicks the bucket, Vance will take the spot and usher in the golden age of these neo-monarchs. The tech bros will carve out their own duchies, where they will be dukes, and they will rule without scrutiny. I would imagine that the neoliberal globalists hold on to Western Europe for some time longer. The tech industry isn't as deeply embedded, at least not in the American oligarchic sense over there across the pond. I'm not sure how long they'll hold on for, because they don't actually create anything, and they don't actually innovate, they merely manage. So not before long, I'm sure they will become a vassal to the techno-oligarchs. But they are currently entrenched as the ruling epistemology of the West, so I can't say for certain how it will play out. We'll just need to sit around and watch, and see for ourselves. So, there you have it. You and I are caught in the middle of a schoolyard fight between two spoiled rich kids. Neither of these sides care about you or I. Neither of these sides have our best interest. Both of them see us as pet projects to play out their philosophy games with. Because that's really what this boils down to. Two different cliques of rich brats wanting to LARP their philosophy. One side thinks they're Nietzschean Übermensch, and the other side thinks they're Christ without the cross. Either way, we're screwed. It's just pick your favorite poison of dystopia. You will either live in the pod and eat the bug, or you get the Cyberpunk 2077 hellscape. Anyway, I'll see you guys there.